Okay guys, in this video I just want to have a talk about atomic structure. Okay, so we know that everything's made of atoms, and for your exam you need to know exactly what an atom's made up of. So we know that atoms are found on the periodic table. On the left hand side we find the metals, on the right hand side we find the non-metals. Okay, but you probably don't know that the centre of an atom is called the nucleus. Okay, so the nucleus, much like we see in the centre of a cell, the atoms contain a nucleus. Inside the nucleus we have little particles called protons. Okay, so protons. Protons, as the name suggests, have a positive charge. So they're positive. Okay? They have a positive charge. Also found in the nucleus, we have particles called neutrons. Okay? Now, people get confused because they think the neutron stands for negative, but it doesn't. Okay? Neutrons are negative, neutral. I nearly fell for it myself. Are neutral. Okay, they do not have a charge. Now, around the outside of the nucleus, we have areas known as shells. Okay, and depending on the atom you have, there are different amount of shells. So these are called shells. Inside the shells we find these particles called electrons. Okay, and they sit in these shells, so on the line of the shell. Electrons are negative, so electrons are negative. So if you remember that protons are positive, neutrons are neutral, you then know that electrons are negative. Now, in any atom, the number of protons is the same as the number of electrons. So in this atom, we have got 3 protons in the nucleus. Therefore, we need 3 electrons. So the first shell of any atom can only hold 2 electrons, a maximum of 2. Once this shell has 2 electrons in it, the next electrons must go in the second shell. Okay? This shell holds a maximum of 8. So once you get over 8, you need to go to the third shell, and so on. Now if we look, we've got 3 protons in the nucleus in blue, and we've got 3 electrons in the shells around the nucleus. So we can represent this by showing that the first shell has got 2 electrons. Then we can put a comma and say the second shell has got 1 electron. So this atom would have the atomic structure or electronic structure of 2 electrons and 1 in the second shell. Okay? It's important that you understand that the number of protons and the number of electrons are the same, and therefore there is no overall charge on the atom. So electrons and protons are the same. Okay? So there's no charge. So no charge on atom, because they cancel each other out. So we've got 1, 2, 3 protons, and we've got 1, 2, 3 electrons. So if I cross them out, so if that positive's cancelled out by that negative, that positive's cancelled out by that negative, and that positive's cancelled out by that negative, we're left with nothing. So overall, the atom has a neutral charge. There's no charge on the atom.